Hello and welcome to another creaturecaster assembly video with Emma. Today we're going to be assembling the Genie of Malifica. As always, first make sure you have all of the parts in front of you and remove all of the gates, shims, and sprues. I'm just pointing out some areas where there are shims that might be hard to spot initially. Alright, so we're going to start with the base. And in order to do that, we need to put these two parts together, 2 and 7. These are the tentacly bits that are going to support the rest of the model. So I made sure that the top parts matched up really well here. If the bottom doesn't match, that's not as big of an issue because you can just remove any excess material and make it fit into the base. So as you can see, I have this little extra overhang here underneath and I just cut it off. I also made sure that the curves lined up nicely by just kind of removing a little bit of that excess there. As with any larger pieces that you're putting together, make sure that you test fit a lot before you commit with glue. Once these are in place, it is very difficult to remove if you need to adjust it. Next, we're adding this little support tentacle. It has 2 connection points, but it fits really easily in there. Not a difficult piece to figure out. Now while that dries, let's combine parts 1 and 5. Make sure you remove this little bit here. This is a newer type of shim that our head of production, Simon, is really excited about. He says that it's helping to avoid mold shifts and all the other annoying stuff we have to deal with hand-poured resin. And at this point, make sure you're testing the fit of the hand before you attach the arm to the body. It's harder to clean once it's attached to the body. So make sure that wrist is fitting nicely to the hand. You should really test fit all of the parts before you start gluing anything. So this is the reminder that I wish I sometimes got from someone. It sucks when you have to clean something and it's already glued on. You have to be super careful. If you're still listening, please comment your favorite matriarch of Malifica so that I know you're still paying attention. And once that's dried, we're going to add this cape bit to the back. It's important to add this before you add the arm covering because that slots into place on top of this. So make sure to test that arm covering here too before gluing. And while that's drying, let's add the left arm on. Make sure that the elbow is lined up nicely here and try to remove material from closer to the inner arm if you need to get it to fit. It'll just look better. And now let's add that arm covering, part 6. It clicks pretty nicely into place. There's these 2 little nubs on the bottom that slide into those holes. So it's pretty easy to fit this in if you have made everything line up correctly. And that's why I was mentioning before that you should test fit it before you glue the cape into place. Just pop it on top of there while you're holding the cape on. And oh my god, my heart stopped at this point. It's the worst feeling to drop a model while you're putting it together. Or no, worse when you're painting it. So now the hand. And hopefully before when I mentioned to test fit it, you did. It lines up really nicely here with the veins on the wrist. If you're not sure of the angle, just look at the veins. Or maybe they're tentacle things. Nah, they look like veins. You decide. So here I had already put the sword on, but just ignore that please. And attach the left horn, part 12. I think I just got excited about the sword and put it on preemptively, but it does get in the way when you're putting on the horns. I found that I still needed to use tweezers even when the sword wasn't in the way, just to get it really precisely in place. But yeah, the sword definitely added a little additional challenge. Okay, so now we're gonna add the sword here before you put on the other horn, because it's nice to be able to hold where the other horn goes while you're putting the sword on. So there was a little bit of method to the madness of putting the sword on first. If you put the horns on first, then while you're trying to hold the sword in place, you might accidentally pop them off with your finger. I also just want to point out quickly that I did put the sword at a slightly higher angle than I wanted to at this point. So if you look at the turnaround, you'll notice that later I adjusted it to point down a little bit more. All right, so now we're gonna add the other horn. And again, tweezers are just a lifesaver here. They make it a lot easier. So highly recommend. Make sure you're precise with your glue distribution on this connection point. And now onto the back, little flippy bits. Cloth. These two, it's pretty clear which one goes where. But if you are confused, you can look at the PDF assembly instructions. I will link those below. Be careful with where you're adding counter pressure with your other hand for this too. You don't want to press on those horns, so press under his armpits. And that's done. So now we just have to attach his hand to the base. This would be a good point if you are nervous about your models to pin, just to give it that extra stability. But this is really a well-balanced model, so I honestly am not nervous about just using glue. I mean, you can score it a little bit to really enhance that connection, but it is really well balanced, so it doesn't feel like there's going to be much pressure on that glue point. And with that, we're done. If you need any assistance or have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at support@creaturecaster.com or our Instagram or Facebook. Also, share your painted models with us. We love seeing what you do. Have a great day, evening, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are.